Hello everybody, my name is Fiona Macpherson and I'll be hosting today's event. I'd like to welcome you on behalf of the Career Farm and the Open University. On today's session we have got myself and we've got Jane Barrett, so you can hopefully see what we look like on there. We're not completely virtual. Before I hand you over to Jane, I'd just like you to familiarise yourself with WebEx if you haven't used it before. I know many of you have probably attended our previous sessions, but if you haven't, I'm just going to give you a quick navigation of the screen just so that you can see how to submit questions, etc. Now, strangely, they have actually just had an update this week and the format looks slightly different, as you'll probably see in a minute. These are some screenshots of how it used to look like, and it's obviously looking slightly different today, but essentially the functions are all still the same. So, as you'll see on the main part of the screen, this is where we display any content. So if Jane was showing her desktop, you would see that there. And obviously today we've got a presentation. We will also be sharing a couple of videos during the session, and these will actually show up in the side panel on the right-hand side when they're actually playing. Sometimes there can be a bit of delay depending on your internet connection. But we will provide links to these afterwards with the slides. So if you do miss them or they don't play, then you can go back and view them at a later point. They're all on YouTube, so you should be fine. Okay, at the top of your screen, you'll see you've probably got an audio broadcast box, hopefully, if it's still there. And this is where you can adjust the volume, or if you need to mute it at any point, you can do that. On the right-hand side of your screen, you'll see there are a number of tabs, and we have the participant tab, the Q&A tab, and at a later stage there'll be a polling tab. We have got a quick poll during this session, and that will pop up when it's ready. So first of all, we're just going to have a quick look at the participant panel. So if you can select that, it's the icon with the person on, if that helps you. It may be slightly different if you're using a Mac, and unfortunately I haven't viewed what this looks like on a Mac today, but the tabs tend to be down at the right bottom of your screen on the Mac, and on a Windows-based PC or laptop they should be at the top, so you can select and deselect your views. So first of all, if you just go down and click on the show hand icon, Jane might ask for a show of hands during the session, and this is where you would actually go and do that. Okay, brilliant. So you've all found that. Fantastic. Okay. Next, we're going to look at the feedback button, which is next to that, which has a drop-down menu. It's the tick and the speech bubble. So if you just click on that, you'll see there are a number of different drop-down options. So for a quick practice, if you can use that, then just answer the following question with either a yes or a no. Are you on LinkedIn? Okay, a few of you are, some of you aren't. Okay, well hopefully as Jane goes through today, you'll probably understand the importance of setting up a profile on there. Okay. Now we're going to have a look at the Q&A panel, and this is where if you have any questions for Jane today, you can go in and send a question. Some of you I know you've already found this, but for those of you that haven't actually had a look at it yet, we're just going to have a quick look. Let me just move the slides on so you see where we are looking. Okay, so in order to send a question through, you would select Host and Presenter from the Ask a drop-down menu. Then you would type your question in and you would click on Send. So just to have a quick practice of how you would do this for those of you that haven't used it already, if you can go down, select Host and Presenter from the Ask drop-down menu, and then just type in whereabouts you are geographically today and click on Send. Tend to have quite a diverse audience. So, okay, Edinburgh, London, Portsmouth, Cork, Hungary, Devon, Manchester, Wakefield, very close to us, Leeds, Cambridge, Pauline in France, very nice, Okay, brilliant. So that's how you would actually do that. And Wendy's showing off, she's in the Côte d'Azur, which is very nice. Okay, so if you do have any questions, as I said, this is where you'll actually do that. Okay, so I'm now going to hand over to Jane so she can introduce herself, and we look forward to receiving your questions as we go through. Just bear with me a second while I just hand over the presentation to Jane. Okay, Jane.
Thanks very much, Fiona. Good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for coming on the webinar. I'm looking forward to showing you the Career Maximiser, which is an online career strategy program that I've developed over the last couple of years in conjunction with several business schools. How it really came about was I wrote a book, as you can see the picture there, If Not Now When, How to Take Charge of Your Career, but felt I needed to provide something that was a bit more interactive, and also people were able to do it online and fill in the exercises, also get some audio support. So if they wanted to actually listen to someone talk about why the exercises were important and how to navigate their career, there was a bit more information on there. So my background is a career changer. That's probably how I got into learning about career change, because I found there wasn't a lot of information at the time when I was a chartered surveyor about how to actually change career later on in your career. And I'd kind of fallen into, well, I went into surveying, then I went into recruitment, and then I trained as a career coach because I wanted to do something about enabling people to lead fulfilling lives and have work that they really enjoyed, and I really enjoyed helping people get jobs. So that's kind of why I moved into career coaching. And I really enjoy working with people and helping them get to where they want to get, to do work they want to do, set up companies. I work with a variety of different business schools, about 15 or so, mainly in Europe. So I work for Barcelona, ESA, I've done work for OU, Judge, Warwick, so a lot of different business schools. So I'm quite familiar with the types of people who tend to go and study at a business school. So I'm delighted today to introduce this tool to you, and I hope it will be helpful to you. I'm very, very open to feedback, so let's crack on. So this evening I wanted to obviously introduce you to the programme and start to, as we go through, I'd like to answer some common questions about how to change career. That will be weaved in to the presentation this evening. And also, as we go through, we'll be considering solutions to challenges you might encounter. Now, clearly this is a group webinar. It's very difficult to get into individual cases. But at least I can start to help you think through some of those solutions as we go through, and show you how this online program, which you have access to as alumni from OU, how that can help you. And then finally looking at, okay, what's next, what do you need to do next to kind of make an action plan to kind of make things move forward for yourself. So the kind of common challenges I often come across are things like, I'm at a crossroads and I'm not sure what to do. I often have clients who are unsure about what to do next, and that can be, big times in your life, or big kind of, well, crossroads really, where you're kind of considering what's the best move now. Perhaps something's happened at work and you're less sure about your position, or perhaps being made redundant, or you need to look after parents, or you need more time at home, whatever it is. There are often times in your life when you want to reassess where you are, and this is something that it's a good time to do some kind of career assessment. It might be that you're not sure whether to stay or go from your current employer. You need to kind of assess that, see what else is out there. Sometimes people jump from considering different things with no way to evaluate the different options. So, you're having a bad day, you're looking at other things, and you really need a more structured way to think through the different options that might be open to you or that you can create. Some people lack confidence. and need to get quite clear on, or try and develop their confidence and develop an understanding of what they're really good at. And I believe everybody's good at something. It's often buried in there. You know, for some people it is about discovering actually your top skills, what you really want, and that can help your confidence. Some people are just not sure what's out there. They might have been in a role a really long time and want to look at what's out there, but want to look at it in a structured way and make sure that as much as they can that it's the right move for them. Now, some people might be setting up their own business or even thinking about that in the future, and I'd be interested to know, so if you could put up your hand if at some point you might be thinking about setting up your own business. Let's have a look at that. Few people there. Okay. Yeah, quite a few actually. Okay, so we did do a webinar on something called Wealth Dynamics, which is a very good tool to have a look at if you're thinking about setting up your own business, but also Career Maximiser again is a useful tool to assess, okay, what kind of business do I want to set up? What kind of team do I need to put around me? Where are my strengths? What are my top skills? And where do I need to fill the gaps? So it's a useful tool to add into the mix when you're thinking about setting up your own business. Obviously, there's a lot of things to think about, but it's one tool that can be helpful. So that's some common challenges that I often come across. So I'd like to find out what your career challenges are. So we're just going to launch a quick poll. So if you can answer your challenges: A, you want to change career; B, perhaps there's a lack of career development within your current company; C, don't really know what you want from your career; or D, you don't really know what you have to offer; or E, I could go on for quite a while; or E, other. And if you fancy typing that in, then that would be very useful. So if we can launch that poll, I think we have, yeah. So if you could answer, what are your career challenges?
Just waiting for a couple to come through, and then I'll launch the results for you.
Perfect, thanks, Fiona. Okay, I think we're nearly there. Thinking about it. WebEx, as Fiona said, has just changed the way they have set things up, so it may take a little bit longer. How are we doing, Fiona? Can you see the poll results?
Sorry, yes, I was just sorting them out. They're just about to come through. They can take a while sometimes. Just bear with me a second. And they should be coming through now.
Okay. So let's see. Oh, quite a spread across the board, really. Okay. But well, slightly higher % of lack of career development within current company. Okay, that's interesting to know. Thank you. So what is Career Maximiser and what isn't it? As I said, it's an online career strategy program for more experienced people. So it tends to be for kind of executive level people. It's not the answer. It's not going to give you the answer, but I believe there's nothing that I've ever come across in 15 years of being in career coaching that gives you the answer. Only you can work that out. I wish I had a crystal ball and I could just tell people what they should be doing. But even if I did, people wouldn't believe it. They need to find out themselves and go through the process. It's the same thing with career research as well. Sometimes people say, oh, well, do you think you could do some career research for me? And again, you know, I say, well, actually, you need to do it, because as you're doing your career research, you will find that actually that's not right for you, or it will lead on to something else. So it's not the answer, but it is a structured approach to thinking about your career. And it's linking, what also it is linking career assessment to action. And there's a lot of tools that I found out there that were very useful for thinking about yourself, but didn't actually link it to taking action, getting a target list of companies, researching the different opportunities. So there's a lot of advice about moving that. What do you do with that information? So it's a tool to help you gain clarity on what you have to offer and what you want from your career. And it's a process to start gathering evidence of key attributes to allow clarity in applications to employers. Employers want evidence of your commitment to a new role or a new company, and it's a very useful tool to start to bring that together so that you're better at interview and more convincing. It also assists in targeting your networking activity. Career coaches have a mantra of networking, 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 but it's about being effective in your networking. If you're like most people I know, they are manically busy, juggling all kinds of things, demanding job, home, lots of different things, activities, friends, hobbies, whatever. So there's a lot to juggle. So, you know, it's much better to be more targeted in your networking activity. I remember when I lived in London, I used to go to BNI, which is a very useful networking group, but it wasn't useful for me because at the time I was developing HR contacts, and HR contacts don't tend to go to BNI at 7 o'clock in the morning. It's kind of morning networking organisation. But the tailor who was part of the group, she completely cleaned up and she did everybody's suits, including mine. I had a suit made. So she did very well out of it from a business perspective. But I think, you know, trying to get more focused about where are the types of people that you need to meet is useful. And this tool will help you think about that and think about, okay, where can I meet the kind of people who will develop my career, who will be useful for me. So that's what it is and what it isn't. And why does career assessment matter? Well, career assessment helps you get a clear idea of what you need to research, where to focus your networking, gathers crucial evidence for employers, is a focused approach to setting career strategy and a framework to evaluate options. And I think the key thing here is it increases self-awareness, and that's the foundation of emotional intelligence, which, you know, as I'm sure you know, is very important for the development of leaders. So it's designed to help people find a new job, change career, improve their career, set up their own company, and consider options. So how do you log in? So the login that you have for Open University is OUBS and the password SBUO. So if you can make a note of that. So you go to the website thecareerfarm.com, which will bring you to this page. And you log in through that general login. There we go. And this will bring you to the Open University Business School page. And then from there, you fill in the form, and then you'll receive an email with your username and password. You will have logged out of the site, so you'll need to make sure you've logged out of the site, and then log back in with these new details. Once you're logged in, you can change your password to something more memorable, but that's essentially how you set up your account on the system. Okay, and we are available if you have any problems with that. We can make sure, well, there shouldn't be, but if there is, then you can just get in contact with us. Okay, so I want you now to think about, before I can show you the program, I want you to think about what career success means to you. So I'm going to show you a short clip of somebody called Richard St. John, and he's a millionaire, he's a TED speaker, and he's written this book called The Secrets of Success, where he interviewed a lot of successful people to try and find out what made people successful. And I think it's a useful video to play before I'm going to ask you the question, what does career success mean to you? So Fiona, if you could launch that video, that would be great. Thank you. I'm not sure if you heard that. Thank you for running that, Fiona. So I have a question for you. What does career success mean to you? Now, you can either type this in the Q&A, or you can just write it down on a piece of paper. I'm just going to give you a minute to think about what does career success mean to you. I want you to just write down without thinking about it too much. So tap into the right side of your brain, which is the more intuitive bit of the brain. Sometimes we can overanalyze things. So this is a chance just to ask yourself that question that we often don't ask. So if you'd like to write that down. Okay, that's great. We've got some good things coming through here. Fun and personal satisfaction, feeling fulfilled, peace and fulfillment, getting up with a spring for work, being happy at work whilst achieving work-life balance, a feeling of achievement, satisfaction of knowing I've done a good job and satisfied that I'm working for a good company, loving what I do and getting paid well for it, making lots of money, excitement with a good lifestyle. Excellent. Okay. Good. So let's just look a little bit closer at Richard St. John's finding about what it takes to be successful. And I think one of the key things that I, as a career coach, see is there's a couple of things here that I just want to draw out. One is to persist. I think for those of you who want to change career, it can be a long haul, especially if you're kind of a mid-career changer. You know, you often have responsibilities, and so what I find with clients, it can sometimes take, you know, a year, 2 years to actually make that change. Perhaps you need to save up some money, or you need to get your partner on board, or whatever. I've had clients who've moved house to downsize so that they can make a career change, and these things take time. And I think also, you know, we have talked in the past about resilience, and that's a key thing, is persisting when you are getting knockbacks, and that can be quite tough if you haven't job searched for a while, to get rejections and to keep going in the face of that. So I think that's one key thing that I wanted to draw attention to. The other is focus. I'm very hot on this because I see people who haven't done this type of work, when they're not sure what to do with their career, be very unfocused and kind of bounce around like a ping pong ball. So that's a key thing, focus. The other thing is passion, is being excited about their work. And certainly when I was a recruiter for PwC, and I could see that when people are really passionate and really loving what they do, then that really came across at interview. And I'm sure if you've recruited people, you know what I'm talking about when you see that people genuinely are interested in their work. So let's get on with talking about the program. So essentially, Career Maximiser is a 10-module course, which you can go through in your own time. Your progress is marked off on the, you can see a progress bar there on the right. So when you fill in an exercise, that bar goes up. You can come in and out of it, so you don't have to do it. You don't have to do it all at once. And I would advise you don't do it all at once, actually, because especially some of the exercises, like the skills exercise, you might want to come back to, do a little bit and come back to, maybe go through some old CVs, and have a think about, well, I'm going to talk to you about the skills exercise, but have a little bit of time to reflect while you're doing those exercises. In total, people ask me, how long does it take to do the program? It really varies from how detailed you want to do it. I mean, personally, I always suggest people take their time to do it. This is very important, and you know, as we've seen with people writing about what does career success mean to you, you know, it's important for a lot of people. So I would advise, you know, probably you're talking about kind of 3-4 hours to go through it properly, but it can be more or less depending on the person. So you can go through it online, and at the end, the output of this is a personalised report which pulls everything together with a lot of, well, with a more information about what you actually do with that information to take that forward. So the first exercise is on career strategy, and that is an audio that you can listen to, and it's a lot of the stuff we've been talking about, or we'll be talking about tonight, kind of setting the scene really. But the first kind of module where you're doing an exercise is the second module, which is about skills. And this is very important for you to know your top skills. You know, if I asked you now, what are your top 5 skills, let's say, and give me evidence of that, I would imagine quite a few people would struggle with that. Or even if you were able to do that, you may give some evidence, but it might not be the best example. And you may have had this when you've had an interview and you've walked out and gone, oh, I wish that I'd come up with a better example for that. So it's a really good way to prepare for interview. So essentially this is trying to find out what your top skills are, and this is useful for answering competency-based questions, which you may often get. Competency-based questions are questions around soft skills, so things like communication. Some people don't like the word soft skills, by the way, but most people understand what it means. So it's skills, behavioural skills, so it might be communication, ability to lead, ability to deal with difficult situations, those types of skills. And you need to be able to gather evidence from your past about you being able to display that. It always makes me laugh on CVs. Some people put, you know, I am a brilliant communicator, and I always think, well, I'll be the judge of that when you come in for interview. So that's a difference really. CVs is about concrete evidence. Competency-based interviews are around giving evidence of your behavioural skills. So this exercise looks at that, and it helps you to identify skills where you enjoy doing it and you're good at it. Because what quite a lot of people I work with suffer with is that they've just developed skills that they're good at, but they don't particularly enjoy, like this cartoon illustrates. And I call it the curse of the bright, because I work with a lot of bright people and they're good at a lot of things, but there are some things that they don't actually enjoy. So we're trying to tap into what you really enjoy and you're good at, because those are the skills that you'll want to develop, that will give you more fulfillment. And generally people work harder at things that they enjoy. There was some research done by an HR consultancy called Eye Opener that also concluded that, you know, employers want people who really enjoy their work and are happy at work. And generally, if you enjoy using your skills, then you're going to be happier. So then the next area to look at is value, and I sometimes get asked what is a definition of value, and it's, in my opinion, it's I got this from a dictionary, but one's judgment of what's important in life. That's the definition that I would pick. So it's really thinking about what's important to you, and so this exercise module 3 is looking at what are your top values, and it also gets you to rank those, so in order of importance. So that exercise helps you make decisions because you know your values. When your values are clear to you, making decisions becomes easier. And for some people it can be quite a surprise to see the ordering of their values, and it can be something that you might want to come back to at different stages in your life to do again. I found that with myself that my values haven't really changed, but the priorities have. So at different stages in my life, my priorities have been very different. So that's a useful exercise. And for some people, they've decided not to go down a certain career route because it wouldn't meet their career values, even though they felt they had the skills for it and there were other matches, but it was so important and highly prioritized for them that they decided that that wasn't the right route. So really, really crucial exercise. Then we move on to interests, and as Warren Buffett says, if there's any difference between you and me, it's simply that I get up and have a chance to do what I love to do every day. If you learn anything from me, this is the best advice I can give you. So this exercise starts to help you tap into what are your interests. And again, there's audio like there are with all the modules for you to play. You can download the audio as well if you want to listen to it on your iPod or tablet or whatever, perhaps when you're commuting. So once you've done that, these are the three kind of very important exercises. I would say my top three, because what we're looking for is that intersection between skills, values and interests, ideally. And sometimes when someone's not happy in their career, it's because one of those is out. So, for example, when I was a chartered surveyor, I had the skills to be a surveyor. I studied, passed my exams. It didn't really meet my top value, which was helping people fulfill their potential. And I wasn't actually that interested in commercial buildings. So for me, it wasn't a very good career choice. So that's why these three exercises are first, because they are the most important ones. Then we move on to other ones which can derail a good career, like this cartoon shows. You know, actually, if everything else is right but the environment's wrong, then that can be sometimes very difficult to overcome. So this exercise helps you think about what environments you've worked in the past and managers you've worked with, that have been, what's been the pros and the cons, to help you think about what are you trying to, what would be ideally you'd like to pursue moving forward. And it's useful from a recruiter's point of view because they like to know that you've really thought about what works for you and what doesn't work for you. You know, when I've recruited for small startups, when I was in recruitment, I worked for a couple of small startups. I was always quite nervous of recruiting people who came from big corporate environments because I wondered whether they would be flexible and be able to do, you know, would just stick rigidly to their job description and not be as flexible as you need to be in a startup. And similarly, when I've recruited for big blue chip companies, I've been worried I've wanted to dig quite deeply into why they're a good fit for a big corporate if they've come from a smaller company, because there are certain skills needed to progress within a big company, or some of the big companies I've recruited for, things like putting yourself forward, promoting yourself, being able to deal with that bureaucracy, so depending on the organisation. So really important exercise to think about. I've also had clients where they've had a dreadful manager and they just keep on going from job to job with the same type of manager. Michael, I'm going to repeat those, but I'll ask Fiona if she can just type in those details. But it's thecareerfarm.com, and the username is OUBS, and then it's the other way around, which is BS. I can't do that. It's too late in the day to do that. Fiona, you can type that in.
I've already typed them in actually, so hopefully you can see that you've got them.
Yeah. Okay, so the next one, what's my long-term goals? There's an exercise here to think about your long-term goals. It asks you to think about what's some key elements of your life, about where you'd like to live, how old your children might be in 5, 10, 15 years' time, if you have them, to help you think about what financial commitments you've got in the future, to be realistic really about ideally, well, be realistic, but also dream about the kind of life you want to live. And it's a good one to sit down with your partner to discuss. I've had somebody I was working with was a managing director for a food company in India, and he sat down and did this exercise with his wife. Actually, he was an OU alumni, and they found it very useful to think about, okay, where ideally would we like to retire, where, you know, that when the kids are this age and in 5 years' time, and this age in 10 years' time, we'll have very different responsibilities. So that helped him make a decision between which role to go after at that point in his career. So again, a useful exercise. It essentially helps you think about what job positions you well for the long term, and it may be you take a job now that positions you well for the future. For those of you thinking about setting up your own business, you may be thinking, well, actually that kind of job would give me lots of exposure to potential clients or potential suppliers or whatever. There's been various studies about writing goals down, that you're more likely to meet them. A guy called Professor Richard Wiseman wrote about goal setting. And looking at the interrelated elements, as I've said, about it's useful to think about 5, 10, 15 years out, and all the different elements that come into that. And it can help you prevent this, which is climbing a career ladder and then realizing that actually this isn't what you really want. So it's an important exercise to dream really and have fun with that and think, ideally how would I like this to be? What am I really aiming for here? People often find this the hardest exercise out of all of them, but for quite a few people it's actually the most useful. There was a guy I was working with who actually wrote in his long-term plan that he wanted to live in the mountains, and he investigated various business options of setting up a business in the Alps and being a ski instructor or owning a chalet and selling up and all different types of options. But in the end, he went for a promotion to Geneva, and from there, obviously, he could ski and be in the mountains. So, but it helped, kind of prompted him to think what he really, really wanted, which was really exciting for him, and it was great. It worked out. So, well, it didn't work out. He pushed for that promotion, and so that was great. So the next module is evaluating the options. So you get all the outputs from the exercises, you do them online, it pulls into an evaluation matrix. And this is, when I said right at the beginning, I said this is to help you structure, to look at different options. This is the bit that I mean. So it pulls out into an evaluation matrix, and it pulls out your top skills, your values, your interests. You can put in any number of those preferences. You might want to put in some areas of expertise or particular location, and I recommend you put in your kind of salary range as what's important to you. So this helps you start to focus on what you really want to go after, helps you focus your research, because there's just so much out there with the internet, and you can get a bit overwhelmed when you're thinking about, okay, what's my next step? So Fiona, if you could just play this video. This is by a guy called Derek Sivers. He set up a successful business called CD Baby, and I rather like his videos. It helps us think about why, well, it helps us look at the benefit of kind of being decisive and really focusing. Very useful to start to tap into. So obviously there are things that you have to do, but I think it's very useful to start to tap into what you really want to do and what you don't. And this is about focusing. Today I got asked if I wanted to go to a blogging conference, and part of me was quite interested. I had a look at the website, but I kind of felt, I'm not so, the speakers, I'm not so interested. No, it's a no. Otherwise, you can waste quite a lot of time going down blind alleys. He's an interesting guy, Derek Sivers. He sold his business for 22 million, and he's got some quite useful videos if you're interested in setting up your own business. He's quite an inspiring guy. So in terms of kind of career research, definitely focus is important. And so this evaluation matrix, you can do it as a spreadsheet, you can do it online on the program. So you put down your possible jobs that you're considering and then the outputs of those exercises, and you score them across so that you can see the ones which have the highest number of ticks. This is just obviously an example. You can start to really investigate, and you can see where the gaps are in your knowledge, what you need to focus on. And are you getting that? Hell yeah. As you start to investigate and you talk to people who are doing the types of roles you want to do, talk to people in the companies you want to work for, start to network using LinkedIn. Fiona mentioned LinkedIn right at the beginning. I mean, LinkedIn is just such a fantastic tool for researching different career options, being part of groups, having a look at people's backgrounds. It's just fantastic. And I think if I've found that if you're not always going to get a yes for people having a chat with you, and obviously you have to be sensible about, talking to somebody you're clearly going to set up in opposition to, if you're going into business. But a lot of people are very generous with their time and happy to talk to you about how they got into that certain career or what skills that you might need, especially if you're introduced through someone that they know. And that's why if you're not on LinkedIn, you really must be on LinkedIn for job searching for sure, and just generally for raising your profile. It's incredibly useful in many ways, I believe, kind of crucial in this day and age, to be honest, and you can gain a lot of knowledge. Great for research. So this is the evaluation matrix. You're able to actually weight some of these. So let's say location is really important. You have to be in a certain location. Then you can weight that very heavily, so that that has more of an input than the other things. So that's the evaluation matrix. And incredibly important for you to start your research. So in terms of the 3 stages of career planning, that self-assessment piece is really important. And then what we're kind of moving on to is this research and evaluation, really researching, where are the gaps in my knowledge? I know what's important to me, I've weighted those, and then starting to evaluate, okay, which looks like a good route for me. And then moving on to CVs, interviews, securing the job, promotional funding, whatever is kind of the next step for you. But often people jump to that 3rd stage. They think, I need a new job, so I'm just going to get my CV together and send it out, without being a little bit more strategic and thoughtful about that move, and then sometimes wonder why it hasn't worked out. Okay. So there's a module on comfortable researching, resources, how to go about it. And there's also a resources section which you can download, which is a PDF resources directory, and a goal planning exercise to help you set some goals. Also, there's these seem slightly got out of sync, these slides, which is my fault. There's a module on pushing the comfort zone research as well, because sometimes you will have to push out of your comfort zone and ask people that you don't know. So there's some hints and tips about how to do that, how to follow up from a conversation, how to try and open their network up to you by sometimes it's asking the right question. Okay. And finally, the final module is your job search strategy and common mistakes. There's an audio as well. So those last kind of modules are just audio ones to help you connect the dots really between career assessment and actually doing it. Finally, I wanted to talk a little bit about a couple of other things. Goal setting, I think it's very important. That's why we've added in a goal setting template for you to set some goals which are concrete, measurable, time-based. And Richard Wiseman, who I talked about before, he's done some research on successful people tend to write them down. remind themselves of the benefits, reward themselves, those kind of things. So there's a template there to help you with some goal setting. Some common mistakes I see in job search is that it takes time. So it's better to do this kind of assessment work, go through this program, ideally when you don't need it, because often when you're under pressure, then you just need to get any job. So for some people, so it does take time to go through this and do your research. Often people don't have enough targets and leads, so they maybe rely on just a couple of leads, and oh, I'm so excited, I've got to the 4th interview, and they don't keep their, and then it all falls apart through no fault of their own. Perhaps somebody is promoted within the company, and so what I suggest, it's like if you're in sales, keeping that pipeline going, so making sure you have enough targets and leads. An overdependence on advertising and recruitment agencies. A lot of, I'm sure you've heard this before, but a lot of jobs are found by networking and direct marketing, and as I said, LinkedIn's great for that. Not setting career goals and letting career work just drift, and I very much advocating taking more of a proactive approach, especially in this market. Some key challenges on changing careers. It often takes time, so start doing that self-assessment. You're not sure you're going to like it, well, that's why we push you to do your research, talk to people who are doing what you're thinking about. Not sure about what your cross-transferable skills are, and I think somebody there said right at the beginning, let's have a quick look, said, I'm not confident that I don't feel I have the credibility to offer the things I think I know about. So sometimes it's about identifying those skills, and sometimes that's in your head, and you need to get some external validation, perhaps look at doing maybe a 360 or getting some people who you work closely with to help you identify those skills. You can clearly see where you need to start your research using this program, and another challenge is on advice on how to contact people you don't know. And a lot of people struggle with what should I ask, but if you've done this framework, you'll see the gaps in your knowledge, and so you'll see what you need to know. Okay, so those are kind of the 3 stages of career planning. That's an overview of the program. I'm realizing we're kind of running out of time now. So for those of you who don't know much about LinkedIn, we've done a guide on using LinkedIn to maximize your network, which you can sign up to on the careerfarmer.com. So what's next? So first thing is to complete the Career Maximiser program and receive your report. And if you need help, there's a page on the OU website where you can go and you can connect with some coaches who can help you develop this further. For some of you, just doing the Career Maximiser program will be fine. Others of you may want to discuss it with a career coach, have some kind of external feedback on your report, and have some coaching support moving forward with your career. Start your research and networking using your report as a guide. You can ask any questions on the online forum. There's a forum within the program, so you can ask, and I moderate that. So if there are any questions, just drop me a line on the forum. Even if you it's good because you can see other people's questions as well. So yeah, please use the online forum to contact us. And also, I'm doing some podcasts for OU because I think one of the most important things is talking to people who are doing what you'd really love to do. I remember when I wrote my book, I met an author who'd actually written a published book, and I was so in awe of him, but it was really useful for me because actually he was a really nice guy, and he was just normal. He was a human being. I think I put authors on this big pedestal and thought that I could never be an author, and it was quite a changing point for me meeting somebody who had actually written a book, and it really inspired me to get on and write my own book. So very much I push people to meet people, connect with people who are in the same field that you want to get into, because you'll learn so much. Going to conferences of people who are ideally a bit further ahead of where you are, because you will learn from that. Funnily enough, I'm just setting up a mentoring group. It's a kind of masterminding group with a couple of people who are further on ahead in the kind of online business space and podcasting space. And I'm setting it up so that I can learn from them. So you can be proactive and think, okay, I would really like to do that, and maybe if I can put together some kind of mastermind group, I would actually, learn. And that's exactly why I've set it up. And I was a bit nervous that people might not want to be part of my group, because I didn't think that I brought that much to the table. But I think the fact that I'm organising it, I've got a really good group of people, has made people commit. So we've got about 6 people that will meet once every fortnight. One person's going to be on the hot seat with their issues and any problems they're having, and everybody's going to commit to doing something every 2 weeks. This is the thing I'm working on, I will get this done by the next call. So a couple of ideas there for being proactive. So yes, if you just want to type in people, I'm going to be interviewing OU alumni. So if there's anyone you would like me to interview, and their audio will then be given to Janet, so that can be put on your website, then please type in the Q&A box. Okay, so finally, thank you this evening. This is again a reminder of the login and password. And my brain is operating. So the login is OUBS, password is SBUO. So I'm slightly dyslexic. I always struggle with things like that. So any questions that anybody has? So let me just have a look. I just saw that somebody earlier had said evaluating idea options is a challenge, and this will really help you, give you a structure on that evaluation matrix to help you evaluate those options. I can't see Claire's actually.
Okay, Claire's just going back actually talking about 360s. She's just saying that you mentioned doing a 360. Do you have any advice on how to go about it, or is this covered in the online program?
It isn't actually covered in the online program, and actually when I do the next version, I'm going to put some stuff in about 360. If you're in a company, I would go to your HR department and say, you want to look at your performance and you'd like to do a 360. They may have a tool that they already use. I'm just trying to think. I mean, that's generally how those types of things are done. If I were you, Claire, I would sit down with some trusted people, colleagues, and say, look, I'm just having a bit of a career assessment, and I would really like some feedback on what I do well, what I need to do more of, what I need to do less of, and if you could give me some advice on that. I'll tell you what I'll do, Claire. I can ask you about. I will write an article on 360 because I think it's a really useful. That's a really good question, and I will send that to Janet. I'm starting to regularly blog now, so I will add that to my list, and I will do it in October on 360 about how to do your own 360. Okay. Let's have a look. Okay. Janet says you can do 360 feedback through your LinkedIn contacts. Actually, that's great. Of course you can, Janet. Very good. That's a really good suggestion. You can do that. Okay. Can you say something about the privacy policy covering information entered into this tool, please? Yes, it is covered by data protection, so we won't do anything with this information, and it will be destroyed after a year. So OU subscribe for a year, and after that it is deleted. So I mean, if you didn't want that, then you could download your report, and then you could log out of your account, and you could tell us just to delete your details. But yeah, it's covered under data protection. I hope that answers your question, Tim. Okay. Savills Consulting's Wave 360 is one being explored at my work, said Stu. Thanks, Stu. That's great. Would any of your advice change for someone contemplating a second career post-retirement? No, it wouldn't actually. I think it's the same advice. Go through the program, look at what your top skills are, values, interests. It'd be interesting to see whether your values have changed quite a bit. There may be different elements which are more important to you, less important to you, but the same, going through the same program will be valid for you as well. Okay. Yeah, Janet, it could be very useful for volunteer work. Absolutely, yeah, very useful. Okay. So thank you, everybody. I think thank you for those of you who have sent your thank yous, and I hope that was interesting for you. And as I said, any questions, please let us know through the forum, or I can just type my email in here. Oh, I can't seem to send it. Fiona, could you just type my email in there so people have that?
Are you doing it in the Q&A? That probably doesn't work. That's probably why.
Thank you.
I might just let me get. I've just taken control a minute. I'm just trying to find all the new little functions which seem to have moved. Just bear with me a second.
Okay. Well, Janet could put that. Janet, if you wanted to put that on the recording, so immediately if somebody's having any problems or they have a burning question, they can send me an email if they don't want to put it on the forum.
No problem. The other thing just to say is there will be a copy of the slides on the website as well. So if you use the login details that you can see on the screen right now, we'll put a link through to the slides as well. So you'll be able to get the links to the videos if you weren't able to watch them properly during the session. And obviously if there's any information that you obviously wanted to get from those slides, you'll be able to do that as well from there.
Great. So thank you, everybody. Please give us feedback. As I said, we've developed this with several business schools, but it is still relatively new. It's only been up and running about a year, although it's been in the making a long time. But please give us feedback. Give feedback to Janet as well. So delighted to hear how you get on with it. So thanks very much for your time tonight, and I hope you find it useful.
Yes, thank you very much, everybody, and good evening.
Thanks, Fiona. Good night.